That's my quiet voice to begin with. I'll try to speak up. With that being said, I'd like to call this meeting to order. And the recording's begun. It is a recorded meeting. And I think any public comments would be the first activity. Any from the audience?
Yeah, Phil, if I could just say, excuse me, when we have a remote meeting, just announce what members are participating. So remote or hybrid, announce what members are participating remotely. So that would be tonight, everybody is. So James Thatch, Jesse Curl, and Phil Sipley are all participating remotely. So that means we'll do all roll call votes tonight.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you for the etiquette. The meeting minutes, did everybody have a chance to review what James sent out to us?
And Phil, if I may, I'm totally open to format and changes and shifts. I've seen a couple different ones floating around. So if there's something else that we prefer on how we make sure we capture some of this information, I'm happy to adjust. So that's always. I don't mind doing that at all.
So on this, so this dovetails nicely to our little miscommunication on tonight's time. So like I said before, we're trying to figure out how we staff this committee from like a professional staff point of view. So I'll be the main point person, but Katie's going to be helping out too. So because it's the two of us, we're going to be using a module in our website called Civic Clerk that we've rolled out for the select board. So right now, these are great minutes, but as we're on like our second or third meeting with select board using Civic Clerk. So as Katie gets, mastery of that, we're going to roll it out to other committees. And because we're the two supporting this committee, we're going to roll it out here too. So we'll have we can do a little demo of it offline, but we can do our minutes right in there, and then it formats it. It does it on the agenda topics. It streamlines it a lot. We're excited about the product. So this is great for now, and then they're really detailed. I think you did a great job on the minutes. But then in the future, we'll have a program for you that'll just standardize it it'll standardize it across committees.
That's beautiful. Thank you. That's great to hear.
We'll roll it out to the trustees after that.
Hey, they're ready. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, we're going to get a new one. But does everyone approve the minutes as written? Any other comments or suggestions?
I'll put forward a motion to approve as long as there's no other comments.
Second.
All in favor, roll call, please. Phil Sipley approves.
James Thatch approves.
Jesse Curl approved.
Okay, minutes are approved. Reviewing the current assets, we all received the sheets from Jeremy, and maybe you may want to give us an update because it kind of rolls into two things: the history of the requests that are recorded in a spreadsheet, but also progress moving towards getting new information by the 22nd this month. Yep.
So thank you for that. Yeah, we got delayed a little bit. We were talking about earlier, life kind of happens in meetings. My personal life in July was super hectic and did not that bled into work more than it typically does. So we had a department head meeting to start August. We rolled out capital there. So all of the folks who typically have done capital and are used to it, folks like Dan Byer in Parks and Chief Kersey in police and Chief Bangma in fire and all the usual players. But then kind of opened it up to other folks too. Every once in a while, we're going to have stuff in library, of course. We're going to have stuff in clerk every once in a while, town clerk. So the department heads have everything now. What I've added, so this group is used to the matrix. I asked folks to refresh it. I've asked folks to put in kind of talked about what the phased approach means. And then I asked them to add an urgency piece. So we did the capital prioritization matrix as a working group. But what that was missing was what the department heads were labeling as urgency. So, we may say, we already did these two, but we may say, fire hoses are urgent #1 and the garage doors are a #2 priority, like from the capital planning. But really, you talk to the fire chief and he's like, nope, we need to secure the physical, envelope of our building, and the garage doors are the #1 most important. And that's not something that necessarily would have come through on a relative basis without department head input. So we're going to put that in there, and that'll be part of our matrix. So they're due back to me, like I said, next week. I'm away for a wedding at the end of next week. So the first week of September, I'll be able to kind of digest those and put them together. We will be discussing so this is kind of points 4 and 5. We'll be discussing a town meeting date at this Wednesday's select board meeting. It will likely be early November. We'll open up the warrant and things like that. So we'll have to have between now and then, before we close the warrant, we'll have to, get the prioritization, have the meetings with the department heads, and then I would like to have a joint meeting, just because I end up supporting all 3 of the committees, some sort of joint meeting with this committee, finance committee, and select board to go through capital and what we're putting on the warrant. And then I spoke with accounting as well, that the closeout of fiscal 25 is going well. And we anticipate having a free cash number by the end of September. So we haven't hit any snags, and I've already said this on the record, so I'll say it again. I anticipated when we were about halfway through Q4, about $1 million to $1.5 million in free cash, based upon where we were closing out with existing free cash from the prior year, some under budget trends. You can go back and watch my select board meeting, or I'll share the presentation with you. But we were under on some salaries, under on some contractual stuff, and then we knocked it out of the park on a couple different revenue lines. So we should have about $1 million to play with.
So as you get these requests in from a time sequence, Jeremy, you're expecting the first week in September to have the input and be able to digest it, correct?
Yeah, so I think this committee should meet the second week of September, depending on your joint availability.
Yeah, that's where I was getting to. Thank you. Then you'd have that roll up onto these sheets, I'm assuming, from the input from the individual sheets. Then we can step through those and then take a look at what's changed, what's updated, and looking at near term, more critically, the first couple of years, 26 and 27, right, I would guess?
Yeah, so, yep, so 26, because we want to do the fall cadence. This is something we talked about last time. We want to do the special town meeting cadence. So we are talking here in 26. And then I think select board is going to be looking at this committee to say what's in the pipeline. What can we expect for 27, 28? And then if I could guess about what one committee member is going to say is, does all this fit within free cash in the current levy, or is there anything that we want to put in like a capital override or anything like that? So the answer is probably no, as I look at it right now, but I think it'll be worthwhile to consider that. So from my perspective, we're having a executive session this coming Wednesday to talk about our compensation and classification study. So that's from the staffing side. So right, when we think kind of about the 3 legs of our budget, we've got our expenses, we've got our personnel, and then we've got kind of this capital piece that exists outside of the general fund. And overages from those first 2 is what funds or surpluses in those first 2 is what funds the third thing. And so executive session is about the compensation and classification study and what our collective bargaining position is going to be for fiscals 27, 8, and 9. So that means placing an anticipated cost of labor contracts across a 3-year financial forecast and saying what's the affordability here. And then I would look to kind of take that work and come to you all and say, are there things is there any affordability left? Are there things we want to, are those contracts, in order to get competitive, is it not affordable? We are going to suggest an override to do so. And if so, do we want to fold in a capital override at the same point? Like I said, I'm not quite sure what the folks' appetite is going to be, because we have to think about debt exclusion stuff too, because the senior center is not, it's not a $60,000 door project where we might want an override, capital override for. It's a debt exclusion where we need something, a tax levy specific to that for 30 years. So the select board is going to be looking for a little bit of thought on how we stack and prioritize those things.
And you'll be able to bring us some insight with the cash availability, what can get taken care of. As we did in the earlier planning working group sessions, we were able to get rid of a lot of the projects with working with free cash and some other things to clear them off the slate, so it wasn't still had to be voted on, but it was still.
Yep.
Something
And
to
so-
manage too.
And so the only really question on funding that we have to department heads that I expect them to bring to me and then this group is, are there grants available? I don't anticipate, department heads to say, well, we can, fund this with part of free cash or we need to bond for this, or there's the capital stabilization fund. That's not their job. That's mine mostly. The only thing I ask them is, are there grants available? If so, how much? And then we track, application for it.
So
We'll be talking in select board this week about the grant application process too. Go ahead, Jesse.
I saw some of those, like, are grants available? Well, yeah. But you got to ask for it. We haven't asked for it because we're not sure we're going to ask for it yet. So I saw in the column, it says, are grants available? False, but they are. But you're not asking for it yet. So I wasn't sure how the matrix actually worked.
So that's like the binary signifier. Like, are grants available? Like, yes or no. And yes, if they are, then we have a lot more work to do. So something like, I keep coming back to it just because we just did the RFP and I just signed the contract. Are grants available for fire department garage doors? No. But are they for self-contained breathing apparatus? Like, possibly. So yeah, it is really just cursory. Should we explore this anymore at this point?
Yeah.
And what the
I was looking
grant
at the van, the senior center bus or van.
yeah.
It was like, yes, grants are available, but the column said false.
Okay, so we need to scrub the data then. If
I don't know. I was wondering if, like, okay, it says false because we're not actually asking for the van.
Got it. I now understand what you're saying. I don't know that one offhand, so I'll look at that one.
Yeah, it was just.
Yep. No, it's a good question. We need to have kind of accurate portrayals. And then there's an item on the select board agenda this week about the grant process. There's been a few times where folks have applied for grants and gotten the grants and started working on it. But in a town, select board needs to accept all grants. So if something's got a $15,000 match and we don't have 15 grand, like, we don't want to do them. But more important, or just as importantly, is making sure we get everything set up on the back end accounting side to be able to pay invoices from the grant, have the grant contracts and all that kind of stuff, and procure according to the parameters of the grant.
Yeah.
We're going to try to professionalize that a little bit more with the limited staff that we do have. Like, we got a $100,000 grant from the state for design services for the Providence Street culvert. But really, you're supposed to get that, and then they assign you a designer. Well, we already signed a contract, $300,000 contract with a designer. They kind of went back and reverse engineered it, and lo and behold, they assigned us that designer. But then we had to split up the contract into task orders, and now we have a second $116,000 grant from DER that we need to stack on top of that. So even when I'm like in the process throughout, when there's stuff that I don't know because I'm not a grant professional, or specifically a grant professional, excuse me, we miss and there's oversights. So we're trying to tighten up that process on grants a little bit more.
Yeah. Going back, I don't know if you want me to just get this idea out of my head, so I'm just going to ask. The July 1st email I sent where I was talking about doing like a whole roll-up 20-year capital plan. Am I just way ahead of myself on that, and we should just not worry about that right now?
I think getting this process and ready for special town meeting and have this being the first year of this committee is my number one goal.
Yeah.
And then before this point next year, develop a 5-year plan. That's my goal for this.
With a roll-up. Yeah. Okay. So I'm a year ahead of myself, basically.
I think so. I mean, I say this to one of the select board members all the time, like, pick up and run as much as you want on this, because but you just told us you've got 5 jobs already.
Yeah.
I support the effort, and I will in the future support the effort and the work of this committee to get there. But I think right now that's running before we're walking.
It's just going to be hard. Like, without some sort of roll-up, how do you? Oh, a roll-up where I know there's all the different buckets, a roll-up of all the needs somehow has to be done,
Well, I think we
right?
get it up, don't we get it out of the short-term window here from the needs request, which would be somewhere between a 3 to 5, 1 to 5 year. You don't have this, we don't have the 20-year visibility, which we should have, and beyond, right? Because some of these things you can say life expectancy is 20 years and you should be planning for a replacement.
So I guess,
If we, if I'm not mistaken, if we took, Jeremy, and help me here, if we took a look at the anticipated years that we're anticipating the expenses, and we get better clarity from the department heads, we would have an approximation of what expenses we're targeting for 25, 26, 27, and 28 in gross numbers. You know, a lot of these categories, I don't think, we'll have to refine as we go forward.
Yeah, so that was I agree with you, Phil. That was my, kind of knee-jerk pushback on that, Jesse, is that folks haven't identified capital that they're going to need in 10 years, in 15 years. That's not being currently captured.
yeah.
Well, and in some senses it is. There are some people who say we only have one of these things, and I think there's a decade of life left in it. But especially for the equipment and the vehicles, we don't have that.
It forces you to look at estimated useful life, and it forces you to, okay, we just bought a truck. The estimated useful life is 10 years, 15 years. And then you know that you have that number. So it builds itself based on assigning a useful life to each item in the capital plan. That I know I'm way ahead myself, but that's how you build it, is useful life. Yeah.
So I agree.
That's awesome. I support the work to get there, but we don't have the data right now to do it. And folks, and a lot of this too, similar to, my competitive procurement push and my, internal parity push and stuff. It's like folks just aren't thinking like this right now. So it's a little bit of a culture shift. Not so much culture, almost like workload and expectation, where folks aren't opposed to it. It's just a little foreign.
I know what you mean. I know.
So they've had like 2 years of kind of acclimating, but I think the next 2 years, I anticipate a lot more kind of robust thought from department heads on this.
Well, to your point though, Jesse, maybe after we get this one rolled up for the town meeting in the near term being a few years, Jeremy, maybe in one of the department meetings mid-year, coming up mid-calendar year. Spring, you could start introducing, okay, what I'd like to see is introduction of, useful life of these assets or needs. Because to your point, fleets, buildings, equipment, there's a projected useful life.
The most important thing with all of this is to know the ages of your equipment in general. Like, I'm in the multifamily game, and people don't know the ages of each unit's fridge or stove or microwave, whatever. When was the boiler done? When was the roof done? Knowing the age of every building's roof, when was it done? That's the stuff that always gets missed, and that's the stuff that bites you, because do you know when the roof on Town Hall was done? Do you know when? It's stuff like that. So it's just all data, and it's garbage in, garbage out. So we're not going to be there in a month, but those are the questions with the goal of being a 20-year plan. Those are all the questions that you keep presenting, and it starts to be a thought in everybody's head. That's all. And then to track it, like who's accountable to try and put that tracking together. It's just making it more professional in general, I think.
Yeah, I think that, sorry, go ahead, Jim.
No, I 100% agree with you. And this comes back to the basics of asset management and understanding what you got. With the stand up with Dan stepping into his new role, where they're starting to take the contracts and at least bring those under one house. The town's at least taken the right steps to start pulling that information together. I have a feeling in 6 months to a year, kind of like as we're looking at, we're going to be driving that question more. And Dan's going to be the one standing next to us being like, yeah, I need that data because I need to figure out where it's going to go and how it's going to affect contracts. So yeah, from my perspective, I'm 100% on board with that. But as you said, your brain is there. We as the town aren't necessarily there yet.
No, it just takes a while to get. Okay, well, at least we got to start with a goal, right?
And with Dan's role, facility management side of things, like right now, that means tickets, right? That means fixing the door and, you know, getting beyond the HVAC and that kind of stuff. That's where it's at now. It's on the transactional. But I think where that naturally grows is goes from the 15 hours a week that he is right now on facilities, and it becomes a 30+ hour independent position that does this sort of asset management, capital planning, grant administration, all rolled into one. I know those are fixing getting a contractor to fix a boiler and writing a grant for, energy efficiency, and, those are different skill sets.
Yes,
but we might be able to, construct the position in a way to be able to support both sides of that.
Is Jonathan? Well, I guess it would be Jonathan and Dan's database software is that useful in any way outside of facilities? Because that can, I assume, do exactly what we're talking about.
So we use it for fleet in highway right now. So we've just started. So we've got the whole highway fleet loaded. So we know when we last changed the oil and when the wipers were changed and when the inspections due and the mileage at, whatever quarter, whatever intervals we take it at. So we use it for fleet. It has an asset management piece of it, but I don't think we're using it now, just because there's a lot of, it's a whole new role to enter and manage that data. And we didn't, add a body to do that.
I know.
Well, in my discussions with highway in particular, they have all the data, but it's all paper. Because nothing before the past year or maybe year and a half ago, everything was still paper.
Not even Excel?
From my understanding, no. I could be wrong. Some of it may be in Excel, but I don't think much. So from our perspective of asset management, when we talk about data in, data out, good data, bad data, whatnot, they got a program that's running now, so that's going to be the first step.
Exactly.
And it it may end up turning into hey, we need someone to sit down for a couple of months and go through historic records to be able to pull some info for us. But I don't know that we're going to flesh that out for a little bit. But I'm right there with you.
Well, we're asking the right questions. This is why we're here, is to start thinking about these wish lists.
Yeah, you need to develop a picture of where this town's headed and when the next pothole is going to hit us. Not literally.
Oh, if you want to talk about potholes, I could talk about potholes.
No, we want to talk about potholes. I don't want to go down that pothole. But we need to be able to project these large ticket items that don't surprise us. We all, I think, admit that the town's always been reactionary. Everything's urgent that minute. So everybody scrambles to do something that month, that year.
Yeah.
And then we all chase it for a long time. Then we don't do enough to complete the task. That's historically what we've been doing for 40 years that I've been here. So you're right. This gives you a window. We'll walk. I think Jeremy said it earlier. We got to walk and we got to, crawl and walk. At least we're thinking about it. 2 years ago, we weren't even thinking about this. Department manager would come to the select board meeting. I said, I need a new truck. That was the cadence 2 years ago.
So what would you like us to do next to best serve our role here, Jeremy?
So I want to get something on the calendar so I can present to you and bring a couple of department heads to you. So I asked folks to get it back to me by the 22nd, which means I can reasonably have next week. So even the end, so I've got a select board meeting on the 3rd, but even a meeting on either September 4th, that Thursday, or early the next week, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th of the following week. And then I'm going to get stuff over to you as soon as I have it, but I would anticipate bringing, 3 department heads with me to talk through their requests. And then I would like to get another one scheduled soon after that. because there'll probably be a second kind of evaluative meeting, and then get a third scheduled by the first or second week of October. I'll have to check the dates for when we close the warrant, but to kind of vote and prioritize for the warrant inclusion. So really tonight, I wanted to let you know where we're at, kind of gather your thoughts on what you thought would be useful. So the roll up is good, and then get something on the calendar so we can. That's what I meant by establish a cadence for us.
I think to your point earlier, Jeremy, I would suggest the 8th or the 9th or the 10th, and I'm open to set a cadence that works for this team. So I asked the other team what nights would be good for them, rather than trying to do it next week, because just history shows us with the town meeting, with everything else, the people deadline this Friday, they're probably going to slip a bit. By the time you roll it up, realistically, I don't see anything happening before the 8th, 9th, or 10th. For you to distribute back to us to be able to digest it. So
I've got openings all 3 of those evenings. So as of right now, I'm game for either one of those. And Jesse, if I understood your email the other day correctly, that Monday evening seems to be better than the other days.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean,
That's fine.
I can adjust days, but typically it's like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or kind of days where I should be there.
Sure.
So yeah, Monday the 8th would be ideal for me, but I don't want to.
That seems to be, I'm fine with Monday the 8th.
Same here.
All right, what time?
Yes, what time? 6:30 or 7:30?
Sorry, didn't laugh that hard. I think
Oh.
6:30 would probably be better, or if that works.
Yep.
September 8th at 18:30.
And consider that Jeremy's really running against the clock, and so is the town for the town meeting and everything else. We should probably look at that same schedule. I get my calendar open. Do we want to try to do it again on the 22nd? Or the 15th, or the 29th gets too close, I think, Jeremy.
I can't. I'm gone the whole week of the 15th to Indianapolis.
Okay,
Ooh, fun. I could do the 22nd. And actually,
Does that-
Jeremy, that's really based. If you think this is a meeting to go with, whether it's with the select board or like if department heads are coming in, like if that second one is more in a more inclusive one, we let us know what what you think.
Yeah, so I think we should see how many people are ready and able to join on the 8th. If we can wedge all the because I would like to get. I'm not going to have, if the assessors need a piece of software or whatever. Like if people have like onesies and twosies sorts of things, I'm probably not going to have. I'm not going to have the town clerk come in and say I need a $15,000, whatever 6 years from now, like that. I'm not going to have them, but I'm going to have the big.
I'm assuming you're going to do that kind of stuff. Say, hey, it came in, this is what it is.
Yeah, that's going to be where the column that says like TA review or whatever. That's going to be the stuff that I filter out and kind of prioritize for you all. So maybe the 22nd we can. So let's get on the calendar now, and maybe that's the prioritization meeting where we already have all the data. You've digested it over the last couple of weeks, and we sit and prioritize. Because what I'd be looking for is, so I'd get you all the matrix again, but prioritize ahead of time, and then come to that meeting ready to discuss your thoughts on it. That would be ideal to me, and then. The following Wednesday, the 1st, October 1st, there's a select board meeting. So if we're ready to go, and I'll talk to the chair, Jason Cooter, we can maybe put a joint meeting at the front end or the back end, depending on people's schedule of the select board.
Okay. So listening to that, we've got September 8th at 6:30. We also have September 22nd at 6:30.
That's a priority setting meeting.
Correct.
All data in by that point.
Okay.
And then October 1st would be a joint meeting. Jeremy, is what you're thinking?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Let me take a look at my calendar on that one.
I've got my Jesse. How's that look for you? It's the middle of the week. Is it? I asked that because
it's okay. I mean, wait. Actually, that's select board or that's.
Yeah, that's select board. So I'd try to make it a joint meeting.
Yeah, but don't they go later usually?
Yeah, so we could put you at the front end or the back end. Like I said, whatever works for this group.
Oh,
But Jason Cooter moves them pretty quick. We haven't been there past 9 very much.
no, I'm sorry. Don't they start later? That's what I
Oh,
meant.
they start at 6:30.
They do. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I have over a month to plan for that Wednesday. I can plan for that Wednesday.
Wait,
Well,
Jesse,
you
maybe,
never tell, but life may happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
that'll be fine.
I'm just sending you some holds on your calendars. So we,
Yep. Thank you. And Jesse, remember, if we have at least 2 of the 3 of us there, we can be the presence. If you either give us, if like you're going to be a little late or give us a timeline, we can
Oh.
make sure we got it
Yeah.
covered.
Worst case scenario, the worst possible case is you see up my nostrils while I'm in my car.
I totally respect that.
I don't know about that. You could take the video off, couldn't you?
Yeah, I suppose I could.
Be right back.
Okay. So that gives us, the critical piece, Jeremy, will be getting the information from departmental heads for the 8th meeting, as well as getting, rolling it all the other loose ends by the 22nd.
yeah, and I'm about a week behind, maybe 2 weeks behind of where I want it to be. So we'll try to make sure it's useful information, and or not useful information, but we've got everything answered ahead of time so we can make it an efficient meeting on the 8th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're anticipating department managers presenting their things?
Yeah,
Except
on
not
the 8th.
Not the little things, the big things.
Yep. So my anticipation would be to meet with them at the end of the week prior, middle of the week prior, and then have a buttoned up thing for you on that Monday. It probably won't end up. It's not going to be like PowerPoints and memos and reports and stuff from them, but it'll be all the information in the matrix. Then we can walk through those.
Gonna be a
Yeah, I
little
think
bit
there's a
like
lot-
the budget process with the finance committee.
Yeah, where I do a little bit of the legwork ahead of time, but the committee gets access to the presenters and gets to, the information, and the specifics are not, filtered through me. In that I'm not taking it and presenting it to you. I'm making sure that they're prepared and presenting it together with them.
Did we set a threshold for them having to deal with the committee?
So we have said in the working group, 5 years, $25,000. We can change that. 5 years, a useful life of 5 years. I think the 5 years is a great marker. $25,000 might be a little high. If we have a $20,000 mower, we might want to know about that, and put it on.
Yeah, it's
Capital.
almost like a percentage of said budget of whatever
Department.
whatever department, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah. We've had $10,000 in previous plans in previous communities. I think that might be a little low, especially when,
I think that's at your level, Jeremy.
right. $10,000 doesn't buy you what it used to 5 years ago.
Yeah, maybe it is a dollar amount and or percentage of budget. The percentage of departmental budget.
All right, let me try to back into that, because a place like Council on Aging has a fraction of the budget that police does, so it might.
Yeah.
Let me do a little bit of work.
Is it like the maximum or the minimum kind of? I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I think we.
No, go ahead.
I think. Yeah, go ahead, Phil. Sorry, it's your
I just
committee.
think
Not mine.
sometimes doing a percentage of budget off a department, I can see where if you all need a door replaced for $10,000, it's all $10,000, or $25,000 door. It's still a $25,000 door, regardless of what size the budget is.
Right.
If it's in a Council on Aging, that's 50% of the miscellaneous budget.
Right.
In a fire department, it's chump change.
Right.
So I don't know if percentage works, but that's, Jeremy, come back and look at it for us. I'm open to whatever.
I'll take a look. I think my approach would be, the or that Jesse said. So we capture more. So I think what the or does is, if the threshold is 25,000, but whatever percentage for council on aging, that means 12,500. It will catch that
Catch
smaller
both
thing. And
ways. Yep.
I like that idea. I hadn't thought of that.
Well, it's a great one, because even in a discussion that came up at the library trustee meeting just last week about an illuminated sign out front, the question was, hey, is this something, this is a small ticket, but isn't it something that may cross more departments? And I said, well, when you have things like that you're thinking about, there's no reason not to bring it up, because one, Jeremy's going to see it and he may see other issues or ideas. Two, that, hitting that percentage question, maybe that falls into that or section. So yeah, I think I like that. And I did go through the Attleboro one, their 5-year. I don't remember them saying that, but you could see some of the logic in how they addressed ideas. That was kind of written through parts.
Yeah, I wasn't the main author. I was a contributor and like a resource for it, but I don't recall percentage of budget being a qualifier. Yeah. I think it was just $10,000 and like maybe even 3 years of useful life.
I'd have to go back and check, but that sounds right.
Okay.
All
Sounds
right,
like
cool.
we have a cadence for our next meetings. We got some deliverables for our next meetings. The minutes, James, that turn around within 48 hours, 72 hours. What's good for you?
Oh, I have no problem with that, because as soon as I've taken notes here, but with these being recorded, I have a whole process I fall through to make it happen. So
Excellent.
yeah, I can get these minutes back to you guys in pretty quick order.
Okay.
Excellent. And then, we got the holds, which is great. And then, Phil, let's see, they're Monday meetings, so that means we need to post by Thursday afternoon. Let's you and I meet, say, the Wednesday morning before the Monday meeting. And then even if it's just for 5 or 10 minutes, a phone call or whatever, and then we can finalize the agenda and make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, because there was some crisscrossing, whatever you, absolutely. The more you get, if Katie and you want to lead on this, that's great.
Yeah, so
I appreciate that.
We'll come to, like we do at Select Board, we'll come to the meeting with the chair. We did it with Jason this morning. We'll come to the meeting and say, here's what we've got. Does this look good? Is there anything else you want to add? Is there anything we talked about that I had forgotten? And then James and Jesse from your roles, if something comes up between now and the next meeting, you're like, hey, I want to talk about that, just shoot me a note and CC Phil, and we'll make sure it gets on our draft agenda for our discussion prior to the meeting. And then
that sounds like a good plan. Efficient.
And
plan.
then if Katie and I have the bandwidth between now and the 8th, we'll try to get you all started in the civic clerk. So James, you can take notes right in it as it goes on. And I mean, it's not super important for this committee, but you can even take roll call votes right in the module. Click yes, 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 and then it just populates your vote language for you, and it's nice.
Cool.
The only
Thank
other
you.
thing I'd ask this one last thing before we move to German, I think, is I'd ask you all to take a look at recruiting other volunteers for this committee. Reach out to your friends, neighbors, and people who are on other committees you've served with. We could use a few more to get a stronger core. Not more than 5, but 2 more would be nice.
I'm a black cloud. My two committees are down people now.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. It just is.
Wait a minute. Okay, but anyway, I asked you all to do that.
There's an opening on finance committee if any of you think you have too much free time.
Yeah.
So quiet around here, isn't it?
I'm refraining from commenting.
Carl just applied for one of them. Did the select board vote him in?
His name and term were not listed on the agenda last time, so in an abundance of open meeting caution, we interviewed him, or they interviewed him, but did not appoint. And it's my anticipation that they will appoint Carl to select board tomorrow, or
to finance committee.
To finance committee at select board on Wednesday, and then appoint 2 folks to Conservation Commission as well.
Oh, great.
Okay, good. Are there any other items on this agenda? I think just we're looking at short time, operationalizing the committee. Maybe at our next event, or closer to the town meeting, get through the warrant activity. Let's talk about a cadence that we anticipate for each month or quarter as we go forward. We talked about it loosely the last time, but I think we'd like to document a schedule. So we can predict that. Jeremy, you can use that with your budget planning and kind of sync the schedules together.
Yeah, one of my goals for select board this year, I gave them a rough one last year, but one of my goals is to lay out a budget calendar. And rather than saying, January 7th to January 23rd, say things like early January, mid-January, late January. So then we can use the same calendar year in, year out. And then this capital planning committee will be folded into that
Absolutely.
Cadence.
Yeah, that would be great.
That works.
Perfect.
Okay.
And then, when there's new people in your seats or select board seats or my seat, there's an established rhythm and you're not trying to create a system from nothing like we're doing here.
The fun part, right?
And the final thing, Jeremy, do you have what you need for town meeting and your budget planning from what we discussed today with these meetings, 8th, 22nd, and 1st?
I think that'll work for us. We don't have a town meeting date yet, so I don't have the warrant dates or anything like that yet, but that should work okay. Are you also, if you'll remember from town meeting last year, I'm going to try to take the same tact, which is shove as much of this into a consent agenda as possible. And then, so even though it'll be discussed at Finance Committee at length, and Jesse might wear two hats in that role at those meetings. Hopefully, town meeting, there's not, hopefully we've beat these horses to death by that point, and that there's not a lot of discussion at town meeting.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate.
Smart.
Town meeting isn't there till midnight.
True.
Any other topics or discussion points?
None here.
With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I will present a motion to adjourn.
I will second.
Second.
All in favor?
James Thatch, aye.
Bill Sipley, aye.
Jesse Curley.
Awesome. I will
Okay.
come up and click the right button to stop recording.
There you go. Excellent. Thanks, guys.